That's one of the things actually we're talking about is one of the challenges for us, which creates this self-talk, is the fact that we have a perception of a past with regret and a fear of uncertainty by understanding a future. And so we have evolved from the animal, if you will, who's right there at the absolute moment and who experiences the joy and the connection and this incredible sense of happiness just for being right there. Yet we have evolved to such an incredible state where we're either back there or looking over there, but we're not here. And I think that's the challenge.
Yes, that's an enormous restriction that we actually, most humans seem to live as if past and future were much more important than the present moment. And usually it's the case when you are up to a certain age, future is much more important. Then when there's not that much future left anymore, the past becomes much more important. You can all see that when you're older, your grandfathers or parents, whatever, they start to talk more and more about, the older they get, the more they talk about the past. Whereas you, most of you are young, probably tend to think more in terms of the next moment, the next and the next. It's not realizing that we actually, to a large extent, ignore, do not truly value, don't fully acknowledge, are not fully aligned with internally this moment, which is, and it's not, is it a revolutionary statement to say there's only ever the present moment, that's all you ever have, not the future and not the past. You can never experience anything in the future. In that sense, the future will never come, because when it comes, it's the present. There's only ever this moment. And if habitually you live in you have an antagonistic relationship with the present moment, as many people have, and that's due to this continuous stream of thinking, takes you out of the present moment, believing I need to get there because the fulfillment of my life is there, but never here. If that becomes a pattern, even if you achieve what you want, if the pattern is deeply lodged in your mind that I'm going to be fulfilled in the next moment or the one after that, that will probably remain even when you achieve certain things. For a moment you'll be happy and fulfilled, and then the old pattern will re-emerge and you'll find unhappiness again. That happened to me shortly before the shift in consciousness happened to me. I was in London at my finals came. I studied very hard. I was already a mature student because I left school at 14, and then I got a job in my late teens and early 20s, and then I got the qualifications to get university in evening courses, and then I was very fearful that I wouldn't do well, and I had to prove to the world and myself that I could do it, and so I worked very hard, but was very unhappy while I was doing it most of the time. And I got the best in England. It's called a first-class honors degree, which not many people get, and so of course elated. Well, I got, wow, my life is now, this is the absolute climax of my life. And that lasted for 2 weeks. and then suddenly one night I woke up again in a state of fear. What's going to happen to me now? What do I do now? The old pattern reasserted itself, and that was shortly before the shift happened. I became even more unhappy after that.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I think one of the things that happen is when you grow up and are acculturated, I think that's a word, acculturated, to certain patterns of thinking, certain self-criticisms. It's like an abused child, though, because that's in the environment. And there's this natural tendency, I think, and maybe you can comment on this, where when you're scared or fearful, you fall back on that because that's allowed you, I think, to survive to that point. It creates this construct that you think protects you from harm, when in fact, it is the thing that is harming you.
Yes, yes. So the talking about past and future and excessive emphasis on past and future in your life. Yes, of course, you need to have, there's nothing wrong with having a certain intention of what you want to achieve, take steps towards it. It's part of living here in this dimension. You can't just say, I'm never going to plan anything anymore, just take life as it comes. Well, some people try to do that, but they're not that happy either after a while. So then your life will get very diffused. And so to have an intention, to make a plan, perfectly fine. Either a short-term plan, like I'm going to meet you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. How would you ever meet anybody if we didn't have time? And future on a practical level, of course it's needed. The question is whether future takes over your mind. Being able to use it for practical purposes is of course great, but I call that clock time is fine, but psychological time is when the future takes over your mind and your entire thought patterns are geared only towards future, and you treat the present moment as either just a means to an end because it enables you to get to the next one. You're always reaching out, so to speak, internally to the next, yet never quite here, always looking for some fulfillment there. So you can never embrace the fullness of now, or you make the now into even an enemy. Some people are always unhappy. Perhaps we all know one or two people like that.
3.
Who are, wherever they are, they're complaining, it's never quite right. Wherever they are or whoever they are with, after a little while, they're very uncomfortable again. They should be somewhere else. You know the bumper sticker that you see in some cars, in various versions of it, says, I'd rather be golfing. And then another one says, I'd rather be fishing. I'd rather be this, I'd rather be there. When I visited the spiritual teacher Ram Dass, who lives in Hawaii, he has a bumper sticker on it. Oh, but Ram Dass was the person who, in the 70s, wrote the book Be Here Now. Anyway, he has a bumper sticker on his car that says, I'd rather be here now. And then you realize you can still pursue whatever an intention, where you want to get to, a plan. I call that, it's a bit like a journey. Your life is a journey. You're going, you want to go from here to there. Whether you're going to get there, we don't know. Maybe on the way you'll branch out to somewhere else. But at least you have a certain direction. It's good to have some direction in your life. But while you are traveling, if your destination takes up most of your attention and you're continuously focusing on there, you miss all the journey, really. You can't enjoy the journey anymore. And most of your life is the journey. The arriving is relatively rare. The wedding, and a few more graduation, but so those moments are not the fine few between. So the rest is the journey. And if you can't enjoy the journey, which means the step you're taking at this moment is really the most important thing. Yes, of course, you're going that way, but this step is still to be enjoyed, because that's ultimately your whole life consists of the step you're taking at this moment. There is never anything else.